It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I will be your host this morning. We're going to cover a number of different areas and topics this morning, which are and should be very disturbing to a lot of Americans. If you're catching us live on our website, that's great news. I see a ton of you folks out there. Man, the Midwest is just crammed. Out on the east, I see Gainesville. I think that's Maryland. I see Fort Wayne, Indiana. I see Muncie. I see, Bowling Green, Kentucky, Clarksville. Texas is out there. I see Tulsa, Oklahoma out there. And I see a bunch of folks out there on the West Coast and the upper Midwest. I see Chicago out there. Congratulations and thank you for joining with us this morning. We try to change the paradigm of what's happening in our country on a daily basis. And as a result of that, we broadcast on Patriot FB. Patriot FB Radio, by the way, is now live. I encourage you strongly to go to see patriotfbradio.com. That's an offshoot from patriotfb.com, which is a Facebook-like type website for patriots. And Patriot Radio is, you don't have to be a member or anything. You can just listen anytime you like. My program goes on there this morning at 8 o'clock live. And then after I go on, Tom Lacavara goes on, and then after that, J.J. McCartney, and there are other hosts that are being brought on as we speak. It's an outstanding opportunity for you to get talk radio in a way that you're not going to get on the national mainstream channels. Because the guys out there like Rush and the guys out there like Glenn Beck and the guys out there, listen, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I got to tell you, folks, it's way past time for Americans to be awakened by real, honest-to-goodness discussion and analysis of what's happening around us with no PC nonsense associated to it. I don't want to talk about, Beyonce and her husband and the sister having a kicking fight in the elevator. That kind of thing is just pure distraction. And all of that is really meant to keep those who are sleeping at the wheel, so to speak, in a catatonic state. We are in dire trouble as a nation, economically, socially, fiscally. We are in trouble societally. We are in trouble religiously. We are in trouble militarily. We are in trouble in every aspect, every element of the parts that make up this country. And we're in trouble in every one of them. There's not one area that you can point to that things are moving along well. Find me one. Anyone. I'll take any. There isn't one. The churches have become apostate 501c3 bowing and scraping bootlickers. That's the truth. So you can drop religion out of the game. Our military is in a shambles. They are being systematically destroyed from the inside, fiscally, while at the same point in time, anyone left in there is either an Obama-ite or they've been removed summarily. Our major generals and anyone who fought against or fights against this administration and what they're seeking to do in stripping the United States down to the absolute bare essentials has already been removed, ladies and gentlemen. Anyone who was a whistleblower, gone. We have our society being monitored and surveilled in every aspect of every area of our lives. It doesn't make any difference whether it's you're traveling down the road in your vehicle. It makes no difference whether you're out in public walking the streets, whether you walk into a store, whether you are speaking on the street, whether you are writing an email to someone, whether you're making a telephone call, no matter what you're doing, whether you're sitting there in front of your laptop, they're flipping on the camera and they're monitoring you. Ladies and gentlemen, that is so outside. Look, if I told you 10 years ago that the NSA was monitoring every communication of every individual in America, you would have said, and I could prove it, you would have said, that's outrageous, unbelievable. But you see, you have been slowly indoctrinated into the principle that it's all okay because it's being done to keep you safe. Like law enforcement being armed to the teeth by Department of Homeland Security and military. It's not okay. It's not okay. And you better stop thinking it is. The pioneer and the creator of facial recognition has come out warning of the exploitation of it. With all due respect, folks, that is the theory of unintended consequences playing out in real time. I mean, it's insane. The manner in which our country is coming apart. I mean, economically, fiscally, we are so far upside down. I'm not sure that anyone, I got to ask you this question. Why is it that politicians everywhere, both state and federal, are completely ignoring the reality of where we are economically? I mean, we're clearly at a point where we're over bankrupt. We are well over the 100% of GDP mark, which is the death knell of any society. Well over it. We have, and that's the debt that's apparent. That's not even the debt that we're talking about that nobody is talking about, like the $120 trillion that we have as unfunded liabilities. This is for all the pensions of all these traders who are passing mountains of law. But we're also not talking about $200 trillion that we are on the hook for as a nation for all of this Wall Street gambling that's going on. I mean, these high rollers in $3,000 suits wearing $900 pairs of shoes, they're gambling on your money. They stand nothing to lose. It's like monopoly money. It's like downloading an application onto your tablet or your phone or your computer that allows you to play blackjack. I mean, you don't care how much you gamble because there's no consequence if you really lose. It's not real money. It's the same game for them. 200 trillion. Ladies and gentlemen, 120 trillion plus 17 trillion alone exceeds the asset value of the planet Earth. End of argument. And that's just our debt. We're not talking about European Union. We're not talking about Asia. We're not talking about South America. We're not talking... Are you getting the picture here? Economically, we're done. We're finished. At this point, I'll tell you why no one is talking about what's going on economically. Because they know it's over and they don't care. Hello? That's the truth. Everything else that you hear is propaganda and lies. They know we're done. They know we're finished. They know there is no hope of paying this back. And they don't care. Because they've already been informed. Look, this is how it is. We're not going to be able to reduce this. At some point, we're going to have an economic collapse that's going to wipe it all out. So stop worrying about it. Keep spending. That's the reality. And if you don't think that that's what they're talking about behind closed doors, if you don't think that's the hub of conversation at the water cooler in Washington, D.C., you're blind, you're deaf, and you're fooling yourself. That's the truth. You see, politicians have already been prepared for. They've been taken care of. The question is, what's in it for you? And the answer is absolutely nothing. What's in it for you is the risk of enslavement when this thing comes apart. Because they're going to use that, as government always does, especially of late. If you're not smelling Hegelian dialectic around you everywhere, cause a problem, come up with a solution, or wait until it festers and becomes a boil and then it becomes infected. Offer the solution. The solution invariably offers or provides for the denigration and the limitation of your rights. That's the way it works. This is an old game. It's been going on since as long as man's been alive. Create a problem, offer the solution, And 9 times out of 10, the solution doesn't even wait for the problem to occur. They create a solution that doesn't have a problem. And then they ram it through. The VA scandal. It's widening. Vets are dying. Bureaucrats are talking. That's going to be the topic of our conversation in this first segment. Second segment, Harry Reid. Here's Harry Reid. He's out there trying to put a constitutional amendment together to limit the First Amendment. Now, folks, I got to tell you something. I just want you to look at this in the perspective that the media won't give you. We have been trying to get constitutional amendments passed for decades. Constitutional amendments passed that would do things like limit the terms of these traitors in Congress, shrink the federal government in size and scope, get a balanced budget amendment, just basic stuff that makes common sense. We can't do it. We can't even get the conversation started. Dirty Harry decides to limit free speech, and bam, he's got a hearing within 30 days. Unbelievable. Convention of States, excuse me. The concept of a limited constitutional modification amendment system. That's been tried over and over and over and over and over. You know why it's never been successful? Because the minute they get close, Congress begins to institute those amendments themselves or shove some nonsensical BS reform through that, for all intents and purposes, effectively states that, and they write it themselves because they don't dare allow non-political entities to write a constitutional amendment. There's no loopholes in it for them then. Don't you get it? They can't have you writing a constitutional amendment because it would be ironclad. But Harry, he can write a constitutional amendment that gives him and his party and his pals all the violations and all the loopholes and all the wiggle room they want. D-Day, June 3rd, is the hearing on free speech. He wants to limit your ability to have free speech in elections. He wants government to decide who can donate to what party and when and how and under what circumstances. Ladies and gentlemen, that's an open act of treason. Immigration, a national emergency. A national emergency. This is an invasion without a media blast. That's what it is. It's an invasion without weapons. It's an invasion nonetheless. 60,000 children have been caught crossing the border without any parental assistance just since the beginning of the year. You know what they estimated that the total was going to be for the year 2014? 60,000. We've already reached it, and we're only into May. You know why? Dreamers Act. The Dreamers Act has allowed the United States border to be as transparent and as invisible to these people. And this is an article in the New York Times, which is, probably one of the chief apologists for this administration, the immigration issue in specificity, and how this administration has been working on these issues. It's gotten so bad the Department of Health and Human Services has declared an emergency. DHS has declared an emergency. Let me put it to you this way. In 2011, only 4,000 crossed the border, unaccompanied children. Last year, it was 21,000. This year, they expected it to be 60,000, and we've already hit the number. Hello? We're being invaded by children. You know why? Because we can't send them back. Who do we send them back to? I got to tell you, our fourth topic, the police state. Government means to enslave you, and we're going to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. All right, so let's jump onto our first topic, because where we are here is so outside the scope of anything that we can explain or justify. Let's talk about the first issue, which is vets. You know, the veterans, where they are in Phoenix, they're scared. And there's an article I posted up on our Facebook page this morning about the vets and how they are being in Phoenix especially, but that this thing is exploding all over the nation. In military.com, there's an article out there this morning about how vets in Phoenix are angry and they're sick and they're scared. But the bureaucrats are going to sit around and they're going to hold an investigation. They're going to have a hearing. Hey, let me tell you something. This is an emergency situation, exigent danger. Vets need care now. I want to see someone who's got brass in Congress stand up and say, for the next 180 days, any vet can go to any hospital they can get to. End of argument, end of discussion. We'll sort out the details later. Isn't that what government always tells us? Don't worry, we'll find out what we got to do to correct the problem later. Right now, let's just take care of the emergency. Unfortunately, when they say it, it always includes the denigration or the elimination of your personal or individual or national or human rights. In this case, I'm saying let's turn the tables on them and use their own language against them. This is a national emergency. For the next 180 days, all veterans should be able to go to any clinic they can, show their VA card, and get service. That's it. Problem solved, or at least immediately. Does it cover the fact that we've got bureaucrats running these systems that are killing our fellow countrymen? No. Should they be charged with manslaughter, attempted murder, or some other charge? Yes, but that's not what we need to focus on right now. Right now, we need to focus on men and women who are dying. We need to focus on Americans who are dying, and I mean, this is so out of control, folks. Here, you've got Bradley Manning. The VA goes and puts a special program into place to change him from a man into a woman and cut off his little wiener and give him a vagina. And we've got Americans who are bleeding out their rectum with cancer, and they can't get a dagnab colonoscopy. What kind of insanity is that? I don't want to see a fast-track hearing. I want to see a fast-track freeze of the rules. I want to see 100 million Americans who say, that's it. Today, you're going to waive the rules. Today, any vet can go to any hospital. And if you don't do it, we will storm your Capitol, we will remove you in handcuffs, and that will be the end of it. Then we'll do what you can't and are unwilling to do. Anything less than that, ladies and gentlemen, is a crime against humanity. Not just against vets, a crime against humanity. 41 dead in one facility. How many dead in others? The numbers are starting to come out. The whistleblowers are coming out. This isn't a scandal. This is a crime. And it's time we treated it as such. When the crime of a Boston bombing occurred, all the rules were thrown out the window. Your Fourth Amendment rights had no priority. They could kick your door in and hold you and your family at gunpoint and kick you out into the street. They seized communications and locked down your cell phones because it was an exigent case. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We've got an exigent case, not of one kid running around who the damn government knew about all along. We've got cases of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Americans who are dying at the hands of bureaucrats. And it's time you got pissed. Not just pissed and, shout at your television. Not just pissed and remark or comment to your wife or your husband. It's time that you got pissed and you made it clear. You see, and the vet issue is only one aspect of this. But if you're not willing to hold a national strike to shut this whole beast down and starve it to death, then you are not a patriot. End of argument. You know why the thing in Washington didn't work with the Operation American Spring, and it's not going to work? I'll tell you why. One, people aren't willing to get up and leave their couch. Number two, everybody was afraid to go because the people in charge of OAS are questionable. And God only knows that that's obvious. Third, the media is not going to cover it no matter what. And fourth, you're not doing anything to hurt them. There's no teeth in your bite. You're gumming them to death. Even if it was successful and 1 million people showed up, unless you're prepared to remove these people by force, you're wasting your time. And to remove them by force is an open declaration of revolution. And since America doesn't have the brass to do that, then the only other thing that you can do is force their hand. And you know how you can do that? A national strike. Sit out, stand out, shut down, don't go to work, don't pay your taxes, don't pay your mortgage, don't pay your car bill, don't buy gasoline, don't buy food, just shut it down. And until you're willing to do that, America, they're going to continue to flail you, to beat you, to lash you, not with a cat of 9 tails, but with a cat of 90 tails. You've been indoctrinated, you've been drugged up, you've been shown all the propaganda, and you're now a willing and complacent, mind-controlled animal. You've been trained like a dog. You've been smacked on the nose with a newspaper, and now you'll do whatever they tell you to do. And those who aren't are threatened because they'll lose this or lose that. They'll lose their welfare check, their benefit, their VA clinic rights. You don't even have any VA clinic rights. What are you talking about? Hundreds of you are dying right now as we speak. How do you fear losing something you don't have? How do you fear losing something you don't own? You don't own your car. You don't own your house. Stop paying your taxes for a month and see what happens. See how fast they put it up on the auction block. You're listening to America's Voice Now. Please visit our website at americasvoicenow.org. Listen, we are way upside down financially. Thousands of dollars in the hole, which I have to cover every month. I'm asking you guys to help us. Those of you who listen on a routine basis, I can't tell you how dire the scenario is. I mean, it's a problem in the sense that I cover it every month. I'm out of funds. I can no longer continue to personally carry it. I need your help. Go to our website and hit the donation button. And instead of paying your cable provider this week, send me the $130. I'm giving you straight information. They're giving you Kim Kardashian's butt. We'll be back in just a minute. When we come back, we're going to hit our second topic. Every one of these is cause for exigent alarm. Harry Reid's going to kill the First Amendment, free speech, with a new committee hearing he's scheduled for June 3rd. That building should be covered in Americans standing on each other's shoulders to get at him. We'll be right back.